So welcome to everybody. Welcome to our September meeting, our September chapter meeting. As we start every meeting, let's discuss what we have blooming in our gardens. Diab, you were just talking about your garden. Oh, you're muted if you're talking. Okay, not Diab. Aaron, what do you have?
Wait.
Oh, there you are.
I was on mute. I'm going to be completely honest. I picked up an overtime shift, so that I was answering a call, but I had to check
Oh,
something.
no problem.
Anyway, it's a goldenrod. You got a lot of those. Black-eyed Susans are still going strong. Um, my staghorn sumac is fading into its beautiful fall colors, and what else do I have? Feel like a lot of things go into seed, but in bloom, definitely my goldenrods.
Feel like everything's going to seed faster this year from the drought.
In the heat. No.
Some blooms aren't sticking around that long for me.
For sure. I've been collecting seeds already, like constantly. There's so many that are dried out. But I do have lots of asters that are popping up. I have calico asters and the New England asters are popping, which is pretty cool. And the obedient plant is still going pretty well, but I've had to water stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really want to water them, but I don't know. I just felt so bad for them.
I put like plants kind of season 1, get water, season 2, if it gets really bad. But I'm out watering this year. I put a bunch of stuff in early spring thinking I'd be good, but I want it to survive. So I've been watering like crazy.
Yeah, well, I do. I guess I watered more than normal this year because I'm using a bunch of the flowers for my daughter's wedding on Saturday. So
Yeah, so they
I'm
have to
just
be
like, why would I pay somebody? I have all these, native plants here. So,
for
so
sure.
yeah,
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I collected.
Did
I
you?
love the season of blooms too. Goldenrods and asters. Prettiest bouquets.
It's the best. Yeah, put some ironweed with some goldenrod. That's my fave.
Beautiful.
Love that.
How about our Marys? We have a Mary Beth and a Mary Lou.
Hi, this is Mary Lou. My mountain mint is blooming.
Yeah.
Hmm.
One of my favorites. And I have my jewel weed still going strong all
Nice.
summer long. I mean, it's still putting out new blooms consistently. And now all of the jewel weed is popping, there's something to me incredibly stress relieving about that, going out there and just popping those little seeds. There's something about the tension being released and the seeds flying away that just is very cathartic to me. So this is one of my favorite reasons, for jewel weed. And then right now my Biden's, I don't know how to say it. I always, in my mind, it's aristocrat, but the really tall annual Biden's is just exploding in yellow. I mean, it's just yellow everywhere, which I absolutely love. Okay, so our agenda, Erin, if you want to move to the next slide. Our educational topic tonight will be presented by our very own Erin. Large-scale planting and restoration, the Fox Shank Living Laboratory. We'll go over some chapter updates and then we'll go over upcoming and past events. So we'll turn it over to Erin now to do, the next slide gives us a little bio on Erin.
Oh.
There we go. So Erin is a water resources engineer by day and a botanist at heart. A degree in environmental engineering and biology from Ohio State. Grew up doing the fall hiking spree through Summit Metro Parks, and has always wanted to be in the woods ever since. She focuses on restoring native communities, stream and wetland restoration, and environmental education. Thank you, Erin, very much for taking the time to do our presentation for us today.
No problem. Thank you. I'm gonna switch PowerPoints here real quick. Okay. View. Present. Okay. Can you guys see this screen? Oh, how do I get it out of presenter view? Maybe if I do it this way.
One of those should be it.
That's what I thought. I feel like it always changes, right? When I'm about to.
Oh, up at the top, display settings next to actions.
Thank you.
Is that where we're going need to go? There you go.
Is that better? Okay. Now you guys can see full screen. So I'm excited to talk to you all today about some of my professional work at a company called Biohabitats. So Biohabitats is a small to mid-range engineering firm. We have about 10 offices throughout the country, and we say that they're located in bioregions, which are based around different watersheds in the US and Canada. So I get to work in the Great Lakes bioregion. And our office focuses exclusively on environmental issues, which include conservation planning, ecological restoration, and regenerative design. Some other careers at my company, and I always like to talk about this to give especially students different ideas of different career options to think of. So other types of jobs at my company include ecological science positions such as restoration ecologists, soil scientists, foresters, arborists, engineers like myself, landscape architects, GIS professionals, as well as on the ground implementation supervisors and equipment operators. And our mission is to restore the earth and inspire ecological stewardship. So I feel really lucky that I get to work at a place that has values that align with mine. As Kim mentioned, I am a water resources engineer. So most of my days are spent doing site assessments and then design work, modeling, but I get to have my hands in planting plans to a degree as well. So yeah, get to blend best of both worlds between engineering and botany. And this is a picture of me being excited at seeing my first pink lady slipper orchid. And at Wild Ones, if you didn't know, I am the Northeast Ohio Habitat Corridor Chair. So I really, really enjoy working on Wild Ones and getting to see everyone's gardens. And if there's any questions, feel free to shout out as I'm on a slide or pop it in the chat if others could help monitor the chat in case I miss it.
I'm on it.
Thank you, thank you. So I know we're all native plant enthusiasts, but I am going to do just a tiny bit of background terminology in case there's any newcomers. And I will say that I do find maybe others on the native habitat corridor team notice this as well. There is still invasive species coming in gardens here and there. So I find it worthwhile to do a tiny bit of education about native plant terminology. So after that, I'll get into our project example today that we're talking about. So according to the Nature Conservancy, there are about 3,000 native plant species in the wild in Ohio. 75% are native, 25% are non-native, and 100 of those are invasive. So varying level of issues we'll get into further. These are some photos from some of our projects here at Biohabitats. A native species refers to a species within its natural range of habitat, and so it's adapted to that particular environment with its climate, soils, moisture levels, etc., so that they should require less maintenance, and ideally no watering, but we were just kind of talking here now about how we've even had to water some native plants this summer because of the drought. Non-native species are species found outside of their ranges, which is unfortunately most of the plants found at traditional garden stores. For instance, daylilies are native to Asia, as well as hostas are native to Asia. Cultivars are what you usually find, oops, too far. cultivars are what you usually find at big box stores when they do have, quote, native species, such as the purple coneflower is one that's often sold. A cultivar has just been what it sounds like cultivated by humans to be bred to have certain traits. For instance, this cultivar right here being bred to be white petaled instead of purple, have bigger blooms, etc. So one tell to be able to tell if something's the native, actual native species, straight species, or a cultivar is if it has these little apostrophes and another word after the species name here. So that's how we can tell this is a cultivar and not the straight species.
Aaron?
Also, oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna
Go
piggyback.
ahead, yeah. Feel free to add, yeah.
I was gonna piggyback and say a good telltale sign of a cultivar is if it has like what I call like a branded sounding name. Like instead of like black-eyed Susans, they call them like summer sunbursts or like uh, something like Fields of Purple Dreams for like asters. So if you hear any of like those branded like names, it's probably a cultivar. And like Bluestone perennials, like they'll send me emails. I keep marking them as spam. They send catalogs. It's like nothing but cultivars in there. But yeah, that's a good telltale sign too.
Great point, Diab. Thank you. Yes,
Mhm.
everlasting blooms is not normally a scientific name to be found.
Do you know, Aaron, what the impact is of the, so I know with the cultivars, the challenge with the cultivars is that they lack genetic diversity because they're all clones. So do you know, is there an issue when those cultivars get folded into the genetics of those straight species plants? Do you have any idea if that's an issue?
It is an issue. I am going to get onto it in a
Oh,
slide.
sorry, I
Here
apologize.
shortly. No worries. Yeah, same line of thinking. So what is the issue? Firstly, invasives are an issue, as many of us know. There's invasive plants as well as invasive animals, insects. We were just talking about spotted lanternflies, and that's an issue because they lack natural competition, being from a different part of the world, and so they are able to take over more easily and take up that space that native species would otherwise inhabit, which has a cascading effect on all the insects that depend on those plants, and then the animals that depend on those insects, and so on. Some common invasive plants in Ohio are here: honeysuckle, reed canary grass, phragmites, buckthorn, purple loosestrife, multiflora rose, and I know a lot of us work hard at removing those, and we have had some great workshops on learning how to remove those within wild ones. The Ohio Invasive Plants Council keeps up to date on species that are determined to be invasive within the state of Ohio, so they keep adding more and more and working to phase those out of sale from our box garden stores. So this gets into Kim's question she brought about: what's the issues with cultivars if they're just cultivated versions of native straight species? The main issue with cultivars is when you force a plant to put more energy into beautiful blooms or another feature that they're trying to get out of the plant, it causes there to be less energy for nectar. And so there's been different research done on this issue and showing that there's some nectar, so I guess they're better than, you know, a non-native species, for instance, but they aren't providing as much nectar as they should be as the straight species for those animals and plants that are expecting them, which can cause issues with migrations. They've traced that as well. So I'm not sure if that answers your question at all, Kim, if you want to add anything else.
Well, that does. I'm just curious, like, so if we have, some of those, especially those double bloom flowers, some of those the red leaved species that we've created, like whether or not those genetics are going to cause issues within the native straight species populations. Like, what if our straight species start showing up with more and more red leaves? You know what I mean? Like, what?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think somebody should research that.
I know, with all of the funding that is available, right?
Um, so in general, I'd say when you're able to buy the straight species, that's the better route to go from one of our wonderful native nurseries that we have a list of on our website are great sources for those.
I have a question. If you
Yeah.
get one of those fancy cultivars and it does go to seed, do the seeds revert back to the original plant or is it still going to be modified?
That's a great question. I feel like I'm picturing a Punnett square now. I'm not entirely sure. I would think it's probably most likely to be similar to what you have. A lot of genetically modified plants have non-viable seeds as well. So if it does reproduce, that would be interesting. Yeah, keep us updated on that if you do that science experiment. So I don't need to spend too much time with this group. We are well aware of the benefits of native species. They're lower maintenance, they help the climate, they help conserve water and support biodiversity. And I've always loved these images showing the root systems of native plants compared to lawn or agriculture. There's just so much more depth to both trees, but also grass species as well. And this quote has always stayed with me from Doug Townley's Nature's Best Hope. 90% of the insects that eat plants can develop and reproduce only on the plants with which they share an evolutionary history. So the monarch is a very famous example about how it only can use milkweed species as its host plant. And similarly, the Carner blue butterfly, its host plant is the lupine, but those are just the tip of the iceberg. It's 90% of plant-eating insects need all of those native species. So just to paint a picture, the picture on the left does have some invasive species in it, actually. Tiger lilies are invasive, but hostas are not. But these kinds of landscapes aren't really providing very much benefit to pollinators and native wildlife compared to the picture on the right with lots of different native species. All right, and with that, I'm going to get into our project example now. So this is the Fox Shank Living Laboratory. It is a project that was constructed in 2022 in Tontogany, Ohio. Has anyone ever heard of Tontogany, Ohio? Jessica hearted it, but I'm not sure if she has.
What major city is it by?
None of them. I'd be shocked, but
Oh,
it is south of Toledo in the Maumee River watershed. The Otsego School District is the landowner for this site, and that's why it's called a living laboratory. We got to create a lab for students.
oh,
So
nice.
this was a 16-acre project. You can see the yellow lines delineate the size of the project. 13 acres were an active farm field when we started our project. Black Swamp Conservancy, which is a wonderful land conservancy organization in Western Ohio, aiming to restore the Great Black Swamp, acquired funds from H2 Ohio, which is a state grant program that aims to reduce nutrient loadings within the Lake Erie watershed as well as the Ohio River watershed. And this was a project developed for the Otsego School District. And their school is just west of this site. You can see the football field and baseball field in the photo, and they had this great new access to an outdoor classroom as a result of this project. So I really enjoyed working on it. Here is what it looked like on the site when we got down to it. It's just a fallow field, you know, been through rotating alterations of soybeans and corn as we plant in Ohio. The project goals were to create at least 5 acres of emergent and scrub shrub wetland, restore a variety of different habitats on site, including native meadow and different types of woods. And we retained 2 acres in agricultural production for future farmers of America for students to be able to do experiments on their site. So we hosted a design charrette with the students at 30% design and presented our initial design to them, but also asked them to think about how they would study the site themselves and what they wanted on the site. So when I led that charrette with them, I talked through our first step is site assessment, and we have to think about what do we want to learn about the site. We want to document existing conditions by thinking from a wide range of perspectives and gathering as much information as we can. So thinking like an engineer, environmental scientist, landscape architect, ecologist, biologist, community planner, but also from a teaching lens, how would teachers want to use this site? How would a historian view this site of what's happened over time? How would the farmer use this site? And what do the neighbors think? This is a very public site,
So you
surrounded
did
by
this,
neighbors, as you can see.
you did this exercise with the kids?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. And they got to present their designs to us of what they wanted to do. And so they were 7th graders. And so some of the ideas were far-fetched. They wanted a zip line across Tontogany Creek on the north end of the site, but that didn't make it into the final plans. But some of their ideas did. So the first steps in site assessment, we look at past land use. This site had been farmed for most of modern history. It also had the Cincinnati rail line intersect. You can see in this historic aerial image, this faint line, that was an old rail line that ran through the site. It was used as an alfalfa grain mill until the 1940s. And there certainly was a lot of past indigenous history on the site as well. The soils here are mostly clay loam and loamy clay. The hydrology on the site, we typically want to assess how is water flowing on the site. In this case, and in the case of a lot of agricultural fields, they've been tile drained, which you can see traces of in the aerial on this photo to the right. We document vegetation, what's currently growing on the site, and what do we think grew on the site in the past, and what do we think is likely to do well on the site in the future. We review any threatened and endangered species that could be known on the site, as well as cultural resources. And then after we can document existing conditions is when we get into design. So how do we take a site from a fallow farm field to a restored, especially sites as large as this? How do we convert those from farm fields into a restored site that nature can take over? So the first thing we really do is build up our base, which is restoring soil and water. So restoring that natural hydrology on a large site as this is similar to how maybe some of you have restored a rain garden at your site. So taking a unnatural gutter system that just shoots water quickly down your driveway, down into another storm drain, that unnaturally speeds up water rather than it draining into the land as it would have previous to that. So removing that tile drainage and adding in a rain garden, plants to soak up that water, slow it down and spread it out is very similar to what we do on our sites, just on a larger scale. So on a site such as this one, we're looking to identify those tile drains and break them so that the water can stay on the site longer. And on other sites, we might consider more stream restoration techniques. If a farmer has ditched a wetland or ditched a stream and unnaturally deepened it and straightened it, those are other ways we look to restore natural hydrology by reconnecting streams to floodplains, as well as
What are the drainage tiles made out of?
they are pipes of a different varieties. Some of them are clay, some of them are plastic. They have little holes in them to try to get the water to drain into them and then off the site quicker. And then you'll see them along streams where they outlet.
So then you've got to pull all that plastic out of the ground and
Sometimes
you just
we take it off site. Sometimes we break it in place, depending on what the budget is. But if it's broken, then it's not functioning. But ideally, yes, we remove the plastic from the environment as well. Many of them are clay, though, I'd say. Most drain tiles are older. So we work to restore our hydrology to start, as well as our soils. On a site such as this, the soil could be compacted from a whole bunch of equipment use. So there's methods to decompact soil by ripping deep into it and decompacting it. We also take a look at past herbicides and pesticide use on a site. Sometimes those can linger in a site years after they've been sprayed. So depending on what you seed out there might be affected by those herbicides, even for years to come, unfortunately. But once you get a good solid base of restoring your soil and your hydrology on your site, you can start to think about what sort of plants you want to introduce onto your site. And then the insects will come on top of that, and then the wildlife from there. So here is the concept for the site. The centerpiece being that remaining agricultural field for students to be able to use in their ag classes. The dashed red lines running through it indicate tile drains that we would leave in place in case they wanted to study the effects of those. North of the agricultural field is where an emergent wetland is designed to be, where the tile drains would outlet to. So that would be how they're able to study the effects within the tile drainage of any of their agricultural experiments. But surrounding the, seeing some chats about the Great Black Swamp, maybe from a bit ago, right on Great Black Swamp. But there is a trail running throughout the site. Our trail was just a natural mown path, but the school later on added gravel, and I'm told now uses it as a track team, runs their practices around this loop. So hopefully they enjoy that. But other habitats within this project include scrub shrub wetland is the main portion on the southern end of the site. The soils in this part of the site were the most hydric or wettest. So some of those clayier soils that hold on to water longer. So they were the most suitable for a wetland restoration. So a technique we did here is called hummock and hollowing to alter the grading. And I'll talk a bit about that more later. Centrally within the loop, we added in a wet meadow, a wet forest, a food forest for the students to be able to use. And the dark green habitat is where we did a riparian forest. So expanding the existing riparian forest as one of those really important connecting corridors for wildlife to be able to use. Other components of the project included adding in wood features. That's what these little wood icons show. Interpretive signage. There were 5 or 6 signs added throughout the trail to explain what was going on the restoration site. We added a boulder amphitheater for students to be able to use as an outdoor classroom. Made sure they had access to get down to this creek to be able to study in their classes. And then there was plans for the school to consider future options such as adding a pavilion and other infrastructure for their outdoor classroom. So here is some more imagery, both from the site and just not from the site, but just in general, to talk about those restoration techniques. A meadow, I think we all know, but that's more of an upland type habitat. A wet meadow is like a meadow, but slightly wetter. Emergent wetlands, they could be seasonal, they could be year round, but you have standing water generally part of the time. This photo is from the site. This is called Hummock and Hollowing. So if you have been in an older woods, you might notice that when an old tree falls over, the roots get uprooted and it leaves a little hole in the ground, and water might collect in that hole, it might not, but it provides a lot of variation in the ground and microtopography. And once the tree decays down too, that ultimately becomes a little pile. So you know that you're in an old woods when you don't see a completely flat landscape. You see variability. And when farmers generally plant, they flatten our landscapes. So that is a technique we generally use to restore variability in the landscape. And it helps both capture surface water flow and create wetland. Did I mute myself?
Yes, you muted yourself.
I muted
Sorry.
you. I tried to unmute myself. I just wanted to let you know that there was a comment in the, or question in the comments. What is the budget for the project? I didn't mean to silence you. I just was trying to.
No worries, it's okay. You can cut me off when I'm talking too much. The budget was around 300,000 for this project. So hummock and hollowing, I don't know where I got cut off, but the idea is to both vary the landscape, add in the diversity that was lost when farming came in and flattened everything, and add in that capture of surface water flow in wetland situations such as this. So this is from the southern end of the site a year after it was constructed. This is the trajectory of the wet forest, not from the site, but generally just a forest with some mesic species. The food forest, I'll talk a bit more in detail about, but the idea was to plant native fruits and nuts. Standing
that is
snags.
awesome.
Standing snags, we try to incorporate into all of our projects. Wood, such as a standing snag or a down log, are really important parts of nature. Not all clients or homeowners are interested in having this sort of habitat in their home or their site because they can perceive it to be messy looking. But when you're able to convince people that it's worthwhile to do, standing snags provide perching habitat for raptors and birds to be able to use the site. Down logs are important for amphibians, salamanders, the likes of that, and all the smaller creatures as well. So these messier components are important to include when you're able to. We had rock stepping stones across our emergent wetland for students to be able to use. This wasn't the site, this is a different site. This was a sign from the site fresh after construction, so you can see pretty fresh looking here, but I love these signs. They're made of natural wood from our construction company, Meadville Land Services, located in Meadville, Pennsylvania. A sand seepage berm was included on the site in between the farm field and the emergent wetland just by adding grading into the site, and there was some sandy components in that part of the site. So the idea with that is providing water quality benefits. When water seeps through the berm, it removes some of those nutrients and contaminants before it is stored in the emergent wetland on the other side. And this is a full photo of the Boulder Amphitheater from the site for students to be able to sit at. So the food forest was one of my favorite parts. Here is a plant list, pretty small, but I will read for us. We included sugar maple for students to tap, pawpaw, hickory, which you can also tap if you didn't know, native crab apples, native mulberries, cherry, sassafras, serviceberry, hazelnut, spice bush, a whole bunch of berries, and some native seed to start. In our general planting strategy, when we're planting a site as large as this, we seed the entire site always. Sometimes we might add in plugs or live stakes or things of that nature. But as far as planting, research has shown that planting rows, especially of the same species, don't offer as much benefit to wildlife as diverse planting, not in a lined up row altogether. So it's one of my pet peeves on tree planting projects. If you can convince people to at least randomize where the trees are and give them a little more diversity. But the planting strategy we use is based off of the Miyawaki method, using planting pods. So in this photo, this is a couple years after construction, so it's growing up. This is Beaver Creek up in Munson Township. You can see a fence surrounding a very dense planting. So the idea with dense plantings is that it emulates what you see in nature more. New trees and shrubs appear I don't know how to explain this, but they appear when birds eat berries or nuts, right? And then poop out the seeds. So those seeds end up being very close together, and then nature self-selects and a forest develops around it. So we find that these planting pods is the term I mentioned, Jane. I just saw that question come in. Planting pods are recommended to plant over just straight rows. But I mean, you're certainly welcome to continue doing as you please, but the benefits of this, there's some ecological benefits to this planting method as well as cost savings. If you're fencing in a 18 trees and shrubs at once for purposes of keeping the deer out from eating it, it can be more cost effective to do that way rather than put a tube on every single tree here. And generally, it's hard for places to remember to remove all those trees. Those tree tubes, you see those last around, and then that's just more plastic in the environment.
Oh, Aaron, I have a question.
Yes.
With the verbiage planting pods, not rows, I take that as like, do you mean like in a more randomized fashion? Or what exactly? Because in my mind, the word pods, I'm thinking seed pods. That's what you mean? Planting seed pods and not plugs?
Good
Like, how are they
question.
using the word pods here?
Pods just mean that they're dense plantings together. So
Oh,
this
okay.
is
I
a
was like,
pod here of 18 intentional trees and shrubs that are pretty close together. They're much closer than this example, for instance. And they're diversified, they're intentional. And
okay. Because I was like, I figured it meant, a randomized, diverse group of plantings. I just didn't know what they meant by the word pods in this instance. But okay, now I see what they mean.
good question. And thank you for answering in the chat. It is the Miyawaki method. So that's a Japanese method you could look up for some other cool forests they have planted.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that.
Of course. And I promise I'm getting close to the end for more questions, but I would say one of the best parts of this project was getting to create an outdoor lab for the students and getting to work with them on what their vision for the site was. So, like I said, we hosted design charrettes with them. We also educated them on some of these topics we're talking about here. Why are we putting dead trees up? Children and adults have these questions. So they helped us with the plantings. They were very excited to get outside and work. They are studying macroinvertebrates in Tontogany Creek now, and they presented the site to the grant funders here in this top photo. So yeah, that was our Fox Shank Living Laboratory, and happy to take any questions on it.
Sorry, I'm just having a hard time finding a raise the hand, so I don't see anybody else raising their hand. So you mentioned this is a $300,000 project, which is awesome. I'm surprised a school was able to pull together those funds even with H2O group. Is that your normal size of that type of project and initiative that you guys end up rolling out and partnering with schools on?
Great questions. A lot of the cost goes into acquiring properties, right? And this project was entirely funded by H2 Ohio. The school didn't have to pay any amount of money to it. So they acquired an outdoor classroom for zero money out of their pocket other than taxpayer dollars. So pretty incredible program here in Ohio. Worth checking out.
Was it the school that triggered it, or was it the H2O group that would triggered it and that just happened to work with the school?
It was the work of the land conservation organization shown here at the Black Swamp Conservancy. So there's similar land conservancy groups that work in Northeast Ohio, like Western Reserve Land Conservancy and others that seek to acquire properties such as this that are available. This one was ideal because it was a farm field adjacent to a creek. So by removing it from agriculture, not that all agriculture is bad, just that this one happened to be located next to a creek and have good potential for restoring wetlands, that those are properties that are ideal opportunities to purchase, remove from agriculture, restore, stop those nutrients from going into the creek, and be able to provide an outdoor classroom for students. So kind of look at the wholesale picture of properties that make sense to acquire. But good land conservancy work here. And I think your second question is this a typical size project of this scale? I would say yes.
Thank you.
Erin, I have a question for you. It's Diane. So was the land already sort of graded down towards the water? So like the farmer would put, potassium and all the other craziest stuff they put on their land, and then it went into the creek prior?
Yeah. You can kind of see these contours here, these white lines.
Yeah.
So the way that it drains going down into the site, and so you'd have issues on the surface with fertilizer running off through the surface, but then the same thing happens within the tile drainage network within the system. You'll see those pipes outlet directly to creeks too. So that's one of the causes of nutrient issues within Lake Erie that contribute to algal blooms, especially in the western Lake Erie basin.
Exactly. So then are they measuring like water quality in there now too? Is that part of what the students are doing, or?
The students do, and so does H2 Ohio. So they have a wonderful partnership with different colleges in the state that research these sites and quantify water quality benefits from projects like this.
Excellent. Thanks. That's awesome.
Yeah. Jessica, do you have another question?
I do. I always have tons of questions. But anyway, what is the smallest type of school project that you guys did?
Prior to me joining Biohabitats, they did an outdoor classroom at the Willoughby School of Innovation. That's a little closer to Northeast Ohio. But I believe that included a stream restoration component. So I'm 100% on the budget there. It might have been a little bit smaller, but generally if there's an acquisition part of it, it can be pretty costly. But we do projects on existing schools as well without that component. I don't think any come to mind outright, but definitely do those as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Erin, you had mentioned, and this is my terminology, it's not correct. It's like a sand berm sort of separating for the agriculture area from the emergent wetlands. Do you know what I'm talking about? You had a slide.
Yes.
So that is designed to help filter out some of the byproducts of the agriculture. Do you ever have to change the sand? I mean, do those things build up, or where do they go?
I'll go back to the picture of it. Great question. So, this kind of shows how water would flow running downhill across the site. So the seepage berm is this part that people are walking on, and they're not like huge berms. They're very nondescript little raised trails such as this for people to be able to use often. But water percolates through the soil profile across all sites. But when there's a component of sand in it, it helps provide some of those water quality benefits before it exits. So because our site, we were restoring the whole site upstream of it, right? So it's no longer in agricultural production. So there shouldn't be, a huge nutrient loading. We're not putting fertilizer on this site anymore. So in this case, no, we wouldn't need to change the sand. And a lot of the times we try to do these where there's existing substrate there. It just makes the most sense to use materials natural to the site. Number one, to not have to pay for them off site. Number two, that's what wants to be there, whether that's sand, whether that's wood, whether that's rock. So in this case, there was a sand component on the northern end of the site. So that is why we did a seepage a system there. I guess to your point, there was some agriculture remaining for the students to use, but not the same scale that there was before when the whole site was being farmed.
Does anyone else have any questions? Well, Erin, thank you so much. That was an absolutely fascinating presentation. I learned so much. Really appreciate it. And what an incredibly rewarding job. You've got to feel so good about what you do every day, because that's just absolutely phenomenal.
Feel really lucky. So thank you for listening, and maybe I'll be able to lead us on a Northeast Ohio tour or something someday.
That'd be amazing. Also in Lake Erie water news, apparently this happened yesterday. Back in 2024, the EPA brought some lawsuit against Campbell Soup Company. They admitted to violating the Clean Water Act 5,400 times since April of 2018. They're saying, well, what we did wasn't so bad for the lake, but 5,400 violations from April of 2018 through December of 2024.
Jeez.
Which is just crazy. It says Campbell's admission that it committed these violations will speed towards a trial, and Campbell's is just kind of like, oh, sorry guys, my bad. The whole thing's sort of ridiculous. But anyway, thank you again, Erin. Really appreciate it. So back to the agenda. We want to welcome any new members. Do we have any new members on the call today? Mary Lou. Oh,
Yeah, I'm new.
hi, Mary Lou. How are you? Welcome to the group.
Thank you.
Where are you from in the Northeast Ohio area?
I'm Cleveland. I'm
Okay.
next to the Brookside Reservation.
So you'll be seeing Jessica and Diab are our regional coordinators for the Cuyahoga County. So you'll see them at a lot of your events.
Yeah,
So
I think I met at the Winking Lizard Social.
I was gonna say that name definitely rings a bell.
yeah, many of
Oh
us were
yeah, of
there.
course.
Diab
Yeah,
was
you
there.
were
I
there.
was there.
Mm-hmm. A lot
Jessica
of
was
us.
there. Erin, were you there?
Yeah, she
I
was.
was. It was a
Yeah, you
fun
were sitting
time.
right next to me. I'm like trying to remember where you were sitting right next to me. But yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And that actually kind of brings us to some of our next slides. Oh, not quite yet. So our Northeast Ohio Native Habitat Corridor now has over 200 gardens as part of the corridor. So that is quite a milestone. Very exciting for the corridor. And everybody who works on that group has just really done a fantastic job. And thanks especially to Erin. She takes a lot of the work up for that group.
It's
So
a
that's
team.
awesome.
It's a team effort.
It's a
That's
team. It is
great.
always a team effort. Yes. So congratulations to the Habitat Corridor Group. And then the next slide. And that you can see is our map. Do you know how current this is? Do you have any idea how current it is? I feel like we're more dense than this now.
This is very old. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we're much more dense. We need to get the slide updated. So anyone who's not yet on the map, it is absolutely free to join. That QR code can take you to where you register. We've got a group of folks that go through those and do the entry onto the map. So everybody is encouraged to join. All you really need is, just one plant in a pot somewhere, to some folks who have an entire 100% native garden. So
For the map, because I know like me, you, Kim, I know you joined, Aaron, Anya. I think we're still up to date, right, guys? I believe so. I know it slows down around this time.
I believe so. But if there's anyone on here and we haven't gotten to your garden yet, sorry, we'll get to it.
Yeah, I was gonna check probably in the next few days, but yeah, I'm glad we're inching up. Hopefully 400 soon, or the next 100.
yeah, right. I think we just went over 200.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yeah, it's growing, but yeah, I think I might trail off for the slower seasons, but that's still exciting.
Absolutely. We do have some additional volunteer coordinate or volunteer positions. So we always have volunteer opportunities. You can sign up for those on the website. These would be ongoing roles where it would be a longer commitment with a very specific role. We've got the assistant social media chair, and that is someone to help develop and execute social media strategies. They're looking for someone who can manage and craft social media content, working with other leaders to develop and execute comprehensive communication plans aligned with the goals and principles of the organization. And looking for someone who can partner with leadership to execute the communication strategy. If you're interested, the email is down below. One example of something that this person might do was there's an event coming up this weekend. We need to generate some interest. The assistant social media chair might help develop, an advertising blast that might go out to the organization to say, hey, we've got this event coming up. We also have an assistant volunteer coordinator position. This position would help recruit and organize volunteer. It is a light time commitment, so this person would do a lot of things with tabling. They would assist in finding volunteers for chapter events through emails and phone calls. They want to communicate to the various volunteers what their role is and what the event details are for the various events that they're working. They want to make sure that tabling kits, that seed supplies, brochures, all of that stuff makes it to the events. And they would assist in training new volunteers on how to do that volunteer work often, like most often it's tabling work. So if that sounds like something that would be of interest to you, please do email us as well. And both of those, like I said, they're longer term commitments. We have our volunteer appreciation day. So if you have ever volunteered for the organization, we'd love to come and
I think you cut out there for like 10 seconds.
yeah, sorry about that. We would love for everybody to come and enjoy some donuts, enjoy some fall time, enjoy some warm apple cider. Hopefully it'll be a little chillier than it was today. I think it was 84 today. An optional hike will be there. And really the idea is just that we're going to get together and we're really going to celebrate all the work that we've done this last year. And it's at Brecksville Reservation. There is very specific map information on how you find the location of where the event is. Next slide, please. This was, as we were just speaking, our summer's last SIP social. This was at Winking Lizard in Independence. We all had a ton of fun. There was a bunch of folks there. And we kind of hung out and we just sort of talked about plants. It was a lot of fun.
Wait,
Next slide.
someone did take pictures? Whose phone was that?
Wasn't Janice at that end of the table? I know Jessica was sitting next to you, right? So it had to have been Janice.
Yeah, I think that's Janice.
Oh, okay, because I actually didn't have any pictures and I wanted something for the I'll text her and see if she can send those to me because I thought no one got pictures. I'm glad she did.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
It was a fun social event.
And this was our tabling at 720 Side Street Markets. I was there, as was Janice, as was Jen, whose last name I can't remember right at this moment. It was an awesome, if anyone has ever not been to one of those 720 events, holy cow, was it fantastic. It was something like 60 different vendors were there. The location was absolutely beautiful. They had music. It was a very festive setting. So it was absolutely wonderful. And tons and tons and tons of dogs, which I always adore. So it was a great event and the weather was beautiful. You can see how blue the sky is. Next event. And then this was the Bowling Green State, is it Bowling Green State University? Firelands Prairie Fall Native Seed Collection. This was happening at the same time as that last tabling event we were talking about. Was anyone there? Anyone who was there wanna?
I was there and it was fantastic. There was a professor there that started doing plantings in the 1970s. And so he could tell you everything that you would possibly want to know about anything planted in any of the prairies that they had. And some of the plants that we were able to collect seeds for was like the Indian grass, the gray dogwood, the docks, the gray coneflowers, giant sunflowers, and bluegrass. And it was really nice because, you know, he just explained like what was edible, what was not edible, and nothing there was edible, which was kind of cool. One of the things that he said was interesting is he was saying that if you're trying to set up a prairie location, it takes about three years to actually get everything going. And the first year, a good idea is to plant nothing but soybeans. He said because the soybeans actually do something to the soil to prevent weeds from growing, but does not affect any of the prairie flowers. So that was just kind of cool. But the professor did invite us to. He's also the pyromaniac for NASA apparently, where he's like the only person that's allowed to burn fields and things. And he said something about NASA has these 5 giant pods of different habitats, and he is one of the very few people that are allowed to bring groups into those pods and give tours. And so he invited all of us from Wild Ones to go back there. If someone would contact him, he would arrange it and do it. So it was really, really an amazing day.
Yeah, that'll be Ray. Ray is the one I think who made, but I can't remember. Can somebody remember what that gentleman's name is?
John, but I don't remember the last name. I did pull up his card if you want me to follow up with that later. Oh, there you go. Someone has John
Yep,
Blake.
John
John
Blakeman.
Blakeman. Yeah, I think he's highly respected academically.
He's amazing. The whole thing was just totally amazing.
Love it.
And if anybody's interested, he actually did a special virtual talk for us last year. So you guys can go to our YouTube channel to listen to him speak about some of his projects.
Awesome.
So an event coming up with it is a cost of $29. This is a fall and winter natural garden design, presented by Prairie Up. Looking at native flowers, grasses, sedges, learning how to increase color, for an autumn show that rivals the tree canopy. That always makes me think of, gosh, now the name of it just left my head. A beautiful fall plant. Diabet your teeth, sumac. We'll learn some design techniques for winter interest as well as management ideas. And the following spring, maintenance for following spring. So if you're interested in that and signing up for that, you can check out Prairie Up's website. It's your TS. You can win a free signed copy if you register for the webinar by the 18th. This is the Eco-Beneficial Landscape Strategies for Climate Crisis. This is coming from the national chapter, or not, is it a national chapter? But coming from national, looking at how climate change is impacting our environment, the frequency of severe weather events, the importance of looking at the number of native species we're losing, the number of invasive species that are coming in. So really all of those various issues involved in climate change and what we're able to do about it through our landscaping and our wild gardening. We do have this Saturday a maintenance day down in Cuyahoga Falls. There was an area down there that had frequent severe flooding events. And the city, brilliantly, what they ended up doing was they ended up purchasing 2 lots on the block that had the worst flooding. And the city tore the houses down and they installed rain gardens. And the rain gardens have decreased flooding. There's not been a severe flood since the rain gardens were planted. So it's a hugely valuable ecological tool that they are using instead of doing things like putting in more drainage, that for the city to actually go in and plant the rain garden. So this Saturday is a maintenance day. Some weeds need to be pulled, maybe some plants need to be planted, maybe some stuff needs to be trimmed back. But it is this Saturday from 9 until 11. And you can sign up for that with, you can go to the website and find the event, and you can sign up through the Eventbrite link. Also coming up, we have Sip and Share by the Fire, featuring teas from native plants. And this is at our member Jessica's home. It is Friday, 9/26 from 6 to 10. So again, go to the website, you can get to the event and you can sign up there. Specific information on where to go and things like that will be provided once you're signed up. And then now we have some more native seed collection events. We have October 5th. This is at Medina Letha House. I don't know if anyone knows how to pronounce that, in Spencer. And at this event, you can expect to learn how to identify and learn how to collect seeds. The age range is 16 and up. Please dress appropriately for off-trail hiking. You probably want to include some sunscreen and some bug spray, and make sure to bring your own garden gloves. And then the next slide, October 16th, another seed collection event, also in Medina County. This one is at the Soil and Water Conservation District Prairie. Same as before, learning how to hand strips and collect native seeds. Again, 16 and up, please dress appropriately and bring your own garden gloves. And everybody should go home with, so the idea behind these seed collections is that you're collecting them for the prairie. Everybody does end up taking some seed home though. So everybody gets to go home with something. And also presented by National is Next Steps for Nature with our rock star, Dr. Doug Talmy. It is building on his newest book, How Can I Help? Saving Nature with Your Yard. He addresses many of the frequently asked questions about ecological landscaping, including some of the things that Aaron touched on. Biodiversity, invasive species control, native versus non-native. He also talks about cultivars. And Jessica also mentioned this earlier in the chat. Doug Talmy has done some research in entomology out on the East Coast, and his research have found that changing the leaf color. So nine bark is one that we have that happens to this a lot, where they've got the red leaves. Doug Talmy was behind the research that found that those red leaves impact the species that feed from that. So Doug Talmy is he's incredibly knowledgeable and is a huge advocate for native plants. He's also involved in the that national park program that I can't come up with the name. Homegrown National Park. There we go. He's behind that Homegrown National Park program. So he's fantastic. And you can also go to our website, go to the event, and you can register for that event. So everyone, again, we love for everybody to like and follow us on Instagram. You'll see a lot of our updates on our Facebook and Instagram. Our new events will get posted there. Pictures will get posted there. So we always love folks to like and follow us and stay up to date on what's happening and where we are and what's going on. And we also always are looking to welcome new members into the fold. We want to help us get up to 200 members. How great would it be if we could, even go beyond 200? So our next goal is 200, and we're all over Northeast Ohio, all the way from all the way west to Erie, all the way south to Canton. And so we try to have activities all over. Next slide. I think that may be the last slide.
I think it is.
Wonderful. Does anybody have any questions? Anything they want to add? Anything they want to discuss before we end the meeting?
Yeah, I've got a question. When I was at the university this weekend, out of the blue, the professor said he talked about a plant called perilla, Perilla, and he said that a lot of people confuse it for a mint. There's a lot of similarities to mint, and if you eat it, or if animals eat it, you'd be in serious trouble. Well, I did some random searching to try to find out more about it, and I found out there's a number of people selling it on Etsy as an edible herb. And how do you not freak out when you see something like that, and what do you do?
What is it called?
Perilla, perilla. And it looks like a mint, but it does have a purple center in it. And I was always taught that if it's got purple on it, it's poisonous. But anyway, he just out of the blue mentioned it, and I would have made a mistake with it, but I couldn't believe how many people in Etsy are selling them,
Yeah.
and they're poisonous, and they're saying that they're an edible herb.
Yeah, I think anytime you look at traditional herbal medicine and foraging, they say about mushroom foragers is that you can have bold mushroom foragers and old mushroom foragers, but you will never have bold old mushroom foragers. The implication being, you really need to know what you're doing, and don't try to be brave when you're doing this. So I definitely, it's one of those issues, I think, that kind of Venn diagram, it crosses over with some of the issues that we deal with for sure.
But what can I do? I mean, when we see something like this, that people are perpetuating something that could really seriously hurt them, what do you do?
In that particular case, I would look to see what the Etsy uh, uh, policies are. Like I know with many social media, you have the ability to report something that would be dangerous. I imagine the same would exist with something like Etsy.
Okay.
But I don't think that, I'm not aware of any sort of legal action or any kind of.
I just want them to stop saying it's an edible herb, and they shouldn't even be selling these things.
Yeah, people do. There was somebody on Facebook Marketplace was selling purple loosestrife.
I was gonna say you can report to the Ohio Invasive Plant Council, and I think that of the species that have been banned from sale in Ohio, there is a reporting number you can call if you see them selling
Oh, that's good to know.
different. Unfortunately, not as many as you want have been banned. It's a slow process, but
What
we're
was the
getting
name
there.
of the organization? Ohio
The Ohio Invasive Plant Council.
Invasive Plant Council. Thank you.
I'll drop a link into the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, if nobody has anything else, then we will conclude the meeting. Thanks for everyone for coming and enjoying the evening with us. And again, thank you, Erin, for your presentation. That was absolutely fascinating.
Thank you for hosting us, Kim.